Sick and shorthanded, Terps offer little in blowout at Ohio State. Columbus, Maryland coach Mark Turgeon stood still for a moment during the final media timeout of Thursday night's 91-69 loss to Ohio State, watching his team take a seat as hundreds at Value City Arena got up from theirs and headed for the exits. He didn't need to draw up a play. The Buckeyes were about to send in their walk-ons, as if this was a meaningless non-conference game against a weaker opponent in the middle of November. Maryland was weak in more ways than one. Turgeon could have used any excuse at his disposal to explain this drubbing, how his team was down to 8 players, how 2 of starters were sick before the game, how the Terrapins were catching the red-hot Buckeyes just 4 days after they upset then number 1 Michigan State, but he chose not to. Maryland, 14-5. 3-3 Big Ten, simply didn't show up Thursday, when it had a prime opportunity to pick up a resume-building win. We didn't compete the way we have to compete, and that was kind of the disappointing thing, Turgeon said. We're just kind of like, well, we have some guys hurt. So we're kind of feeling sorry for ourselves, instead of competing the way we need to compete. Most of Maryland's players had never experienced a 30-point loss like they did last week at Michigan State. Terrapins guard Kevin Huerter called that drubbing embarrassing earlier this week, and vowed he wouldn't let it happen again. Turgeon had said that his team got better through that experience, too, but it simply didn't show on Thursday night. It didn't help that the Terrapins were down to 8 scholarship players. Shooting guard Dion Wiley didn't make the trip after suffering a concussion in a win over Iowa last Sunday, and the pain of this blowout was accentuated by the fact that Maryland played a clean first 11 minutes. It committed just 1 turnover in that span. It threw Ohio State off by toggling between man and zone defense. And it led by 7 with 9:30 left before halftime, thanks in large part to the offensive play of Michal Sikowski, who hit his first 5 shots and finished with a career-high 18 points. We click on the fence to start every game, said Huerter, except this time the game went off the rails after the promising start. Ohio State, 14-4, 5-0, figured out Maryland's zone, at first behind graduate transfer guard Andrew Dakic, who scored a career-high 11 points in the first half alone. Dakic had only scored 22 total points in his previous 3 years at Michigan. That helped fuel a 22-2 run by the Buckeyes. Maryland also had no answer for Buckeyes forward Katabates Diop, who warmed up during that run and finished with 26 points and 8 rebounds. He hit 6 for 8 from three-point range as the Buckeyes hit 17 for 29 from three-point range. Maryland has allowed 44 three-pointers in its last 3 games. Diop was a pretty big part of our scouting report. And to give him the looks that we gave him is a little disappointing, Turgeon said. But while Maryland's effort on defense was mediocre at best, Huerter noted that his team didn't close out well on Ohio State's shooters, and the transition to defense was lackluster. Thursday was also about self-inflicted wounds on offense, too. It manifested itself in the form of long and inexplicable scoring droughts. The worst lasted nearly 7 minutes late in the second half. The half-court sets looked disconnected. Amid a streak of 11 consecutive missed shots, players stood around and watched Anthony Cowan Jr., 12 points on 3 for 13 shooting, or Huerter, 12 points on 4 for 10 shooting, try to create offense on their own. Sikowski, a 7'1" center who has only taken 1 three-pointer in his entire career, doubled that total with a panicked heave at one point. We didn't really follow the plan. And it hurt. It hurt us, Sikowski said. Sikowski's front court mate, freshman Bruno Fernando, finished with just 2 points and 3 rebounds. He played just 16 minutes due to an illness. He gave an effort. Siko is on antibiotics, I'm on antibiotics, Bruno is on antibiotics. We're a mess. We're an absolute mess right now, Turgeon said. Not only has Maryland coped with life after losing power forwards Justin Jackson and Ivan Bender to season-ending injuries, With Wiley out and Fernando and Sikorsky sick, the team was forced to practice lightly Wednesday. It didn't do its customary game day shoot-around on Thursday either, Turgeon said, which was designed to give more players rest. But while Maryland can't control its health issues, it can control its effort. That simply wasn't present on Thursday. In a down year in the Big Ten, the Terrapins don't have many more opportunities to pick up quality wins that will boost its postseason resume. It will have one on Monday at Michigan, but Turgeon is more concerned with ratcheting up his team's energy. When Turgeon was asked what he had to do as a coach to get more out of his shorthanded roster, he didn't have an answer. "I don't know," he said. "If I knew, I wouldn't have lost by 20.